A sea serpent is basically a dragon in the water. So what we want to do is take your eraser and make yourself a parallel line to the bottom of the page like this. I'm going to go ahead and do this lightly with a pencil that I can erase. And this is just to line up your body parts going in and out of the water. So we're going to start with this cone-shaped neck. We'll make it narrower, and then we'll go wider, kind of like a cone, like this. See the narrower and then to wider. This line would actually end up getting erased later on. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that. Then we're going to show his body coming out of the water and back into the water. Now we want this same body, so you want to make sure you make him kind of fat. You know, don't make him a really skinny sea serpent. And then our last one would be the cone-shaped tail. And I'm going to go ahead and curve it backwards this direction. Now, if you had a longer piece of paper, you could actually make more of this shape repeatedly so it would look much longer. But this is just a regular piece of photocopy paper. So I'm going to go ahead and erase my pencil line there, or you could wipe off your eraser if you used an eraser. Your next line is showing the thickness of the body and showing that it's round. So we do a curve line to show contour shape. Curve, curve, and curve. Now we've got him going in the water and then back out and then in and then back out again. Very cool. So let's go ahead and get his head on next. We're going to round out his head, and we want to come down kind of like the snout on a dog. And then we come down, and this would be down to the tip of his nose. And yours could be shorter or longer. That wouldn't really matter. I like my dragons to have a little bit of a wavy line on their jaw. Now always remember, with any kind of sea serpent or dragon, the upper jaw is bigger than the lower jaw. So coming back just a little bit here, I'm going to draw the lower jaw. And this is like the jawbone. This little angle right here tells me the joint. So there's my basic face. And you can do a ton from here. I'm going to go ahead and give him a little bit of nostrils. The cool thing about drawing dragons and sea serpents is that you can make them however you want, because they are make-believe and fictitious. It's very fun. So this is the back of one nostril, and this is the front of one. I'm even going to put another hole in so you can kind of see into the nostril there. Now, I love it when this is a little bit pointy. So I'm going to bring it down like that. See that nice little point I just put on there? Now, I'm going to leave this dragon's mouth shut, but I think it would be cool if we gave him some little teeth. And rather than give him just V shapes, which we would do on on upper teeth, coming out of the jawline, I'm just doing little V shape. If you want to show some coming up from below, you want to show them more like cones. So I go angle, angle with a curve at the bottom. See how that looks like a little tooth coming out of the jaw? I think I'll put another one over here. Angle, angle, curve at the bottom, like that. See how cool that is? Now for his eyeball, to make him look friendly, you just make big round eyes, but I want him to look a little bit more sea serpent-y, so I definitely want a point in each corner. And then I'm going to bring the eye open so I can put some nice detail in it. This is the corner of the actual eyeball. And then I'm going to give him one of those curved triangle pupils and a little bit of an eyelid. Okay, now I think that sea serpents look better if they kind of remind you of like if you've ever seen a lionfish, or a lot of fishes have like little pieces of skin kind of growing off of them and kind of webbing. So I kind of show his little spikes like this Notice how they kind of go in and out. And I could make several of them. I could have them go in different directions or a little bit curved. It's kind of up to you. So I think those look kind of cool. And rather than do the exact same thing underneath, I think I'll erase in a couple places and do them kind of like cone shapes so that they look like they're attaching like this. Or you might like a curve up and then come down. Remember to do a curve up where it attaches and then some sort of line coming down. The opposite of that little tooth. Now looking at this jaw, I think I'm going to bring it around for a little bit of a curl there. I might even give him a little smirk. Yeah. Okay, so for his jaw, you can decorate this jaw, but because he's in the fish family, I'm going to give a little bit of webbing. So I'm going to angle out, and then I'm going to curve, 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 curve. At every point, you draw back to the line. See, that looks like a little bit of webbing, like a little fin coming off of him. For his tummy, I want him to have a different texture. So I'm going to start out small and come down. I want to continue that shape. So I'm going to go up and over, and then on the inside here. Kind of cool, huh? Now, all I need to do here is make these lines curve on his belly to kind of like his breastplate. Try to stay with your lines kind of consistent, as in how far apart they are. So whatever you decide they're going to be. Notice how those are all curving and these are all curving. Then lastly, I'm going to curve on this piece. Now, I could leave it like that. I like to show a little bit more depth to it. So what I do is I lightly erase this line because it's easier to erase it now. And then watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out and come in, out and come in, out and come in. See how that looks more like a bumpy tummy? I think that's way more interesting. And if you like that, you can erase down here and you can keep it going. So curve out and in, out and in, out and in, out and in. So I'm just basically going out and then back in. And then erase any overlapping lines that are showing. You could just leave it alone on this one, or you could do it again. So I'm just going to go out and in, out and in, out and in. Notice how you can still see that line underneath. You can go ahead and erase it later, but I want to make sure you could see how I was doing that to give it a more of a 3D effect. Kind of cool. So for his spine, I could do any kind of simple one, but I would really like it to look more like webbing because I want him to be sort of fish-like. So I'm going to go ahead and go large here, okay? And then bring it down this way and watch. Curve in, curve in, curve in, curve in. And then I'm going to bring these lines back in. And it's kind of like an ear, but really it's a fin. Rather than just show one, I'm going to show a little bit of the one that's on the other side coming from underneath. So if I was coloring these, I would color this one a little bit darker and this one a little bit lighter so you could see the difference between the two. So this is actually two webbings coming off his spine. So continuing that look, all I'm going to do is just curve. And then right here, it's going to go into the water with a curve. And then I'm going to start it here again. And you could get bigger in the middle and then go smaller on the sides. Because remember, you're making it up. And then at every point, We draw a line. Don't forget a curve at the bottom. Curve at the bottom. Every point, bring it into the spine. If you curve these lines, it makes it look more rounded. If you go straight, it tends to look a little flat. So I like to give them a little bit of curving. You'll notice I do it here too. Curve, curve, curve. Now, I could leave it like that, or I could make it look a little bit more like a cone here. Now, this one's a little tricky. I'm going to go ahead and erase right above the line, and I'll show you what I'm going to do to it, just so you know how I did it, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 lines and then turn it into a cone. 2 lines, turn it into a cone. So basically what you've got is kind of like a little spine that's cone shaped. Now, you don't need to do that little added thing. It's only if you liked it. You could continue it here if you liked how that looked. Another idea would be to erase this. Check this out. This is kind of fun. I'm just going to do the top 3 one, and I'm going to erase the top of them. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this out. Watch. Longer, coming back in, longer, coming back in, longer, coming back in. And what happens here is that they have kind of like spines pulling out of the webbing, which I think looks kind of cool. You could continue that even more. I'm just going to do the 3. Now let's make a really cool tail, okay? So let's go ahead and just add ourselves some spines first. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 at the end, 5. So what we have to do is we have to erase the line next to these curves because we're going to actually turn them into cones. So watch. Just a V, a V, a V. Now, if you drew lightly before, it makes your lines disappear more. It's hard when you press hard to get that line to disappear that was underneath. Do you see how my little spikes here? They look kind of cool. I could just leave it like that, but I think what I'll do is I'll do some webbing in between them. I really like to give him that sea serpent-y feel. There we go. Very fun. So that just gives you some ideas on how to put him together. Behind him, it's nice to put a land line. So I like to just kind of lightly draw a line running through and then make it parallel to the bottom of the page and then stop and start. And this just kind of shows you the end of the water behind him. Now, when you want him to look kind of ripply, like he's in the water, you want to do flat curves. Watch. Flat curves. These little flat curves show the little ripples where he goes into the water. Flat curve, flat curves. And they can go left or right, but I want you to notice these lines do not touch each other. So if you were going to add some more in between, notice that these are like action lines. They never touch, and they're very flat and very parallel with the bottom of the page. So remember, do not go diagonal with them. Think parallel, parallel. So if this is going across, then these water lines go across. And these are just to give you a little bit of texture in your water. The little rippling of the water going in and out. Kind of cool. The rest I could just do with crayons or markers or watercolor. Maybe I want to put some kind of cool, jaggedy mountains in the distance, like this, and paint them a different color. I could have a sun coming up off the horizon with some cool shapes coming off of it. Really could have a fun with what you're going to do with your environment. Remember that sea serpents are fictitious, so really there's no right way or wrong way to draw them. It's deciding what you want yours to look like. This is one that I watercolored. And you can see how I did that webbing all across here, the little cone shapes. This I did with watercolor. This was orange watercolor with yellow, the little ripples in the water. This is a much larger one. This one's actually about an 18-inch large piece of paper. But I just want you to see how you can take our small drawing and you can actually add to it and add more color to it and really have some fun with it. As you can see, every time I draw them a little different. That's what's fun about it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. See you next drawing.